I was on all these publications, but one of the biggest was when the O magazine contacted me. And I was like, Oprah! What? This is insane.
From my perspective, you have the coolest job in the world.
From my perspective as well. If you shift your focus and you start to look for good things, then you start to see more of it. Most of the time, the monsters that we create in our heads are very, very small, actually, in real life. We need to teach that voice in our head to be kinder to ourselves.
How can we find just a little bit more positivity in our lives?
Here's the crazy thing.
Brent, I think people underestimate just how powerful kindness can be. So how did one random act of kindness end up changing your entire life?
Well, that's exactly it, right? It changed my entire life. And I had no idea that what I was doing would go anywhere. I didn't even realize that it would become anything more than just some silly video that I'd put online. But at the time, there was this global trend that had taken over the world. It was like now on TikTok, every other day, we've got like a new trend. But in 2014, this was one of the first that used social media as a catalyst to grow itself. So the whole point was you had to do something silly, drink a bucket load of alcohol, not a bucket load, but a lot of alcohol, do something with alcohol, video yourself doing that silly thing and drinking alcohol, and then nominate 2 or 3 people to outdo what you'd done. And it was sweeping the globe. There were millions of these videos being uploaded from all around the world. It started down in Australia. And yeah, it was in all the news and everybody was joining the trend. And I just thought to myself at the time, like, how silly is this to put something like that on the internet? We sometimes forget that what we do matters. And when we put stuff on the internet, it's there for life. It's there for life. And I had this thought process. Imagine I was upside down, half naked, drinking beer out of a toilet bowl. Someone did that. And I put that video up on the internet. 10 years, 20 years, whatever the time frame is. Imagine I applied for a job. Imagine I was looking for a client and they Googled my name and that's what they saw. So that was like my first train of thought. And the second was all about being kinder. I think inherently who we are as human beings, we all, I like to think, come from something good. But I had a really cool upbringing that made me realize that kindness matters. That's all that matters, actually. To be kinder, you have the power to save someone's life. And I didn't know at the time. I sort of got nominated. I put this video up where instead of doing a neck nomination, I fed a homeless person on the side of the road, and I went viral. Like people go viral all the time now on social media, and it's a flash in the pan, and the next couple of days or whatever, it's all over. I was on every single news, mainstream media around the world. I was on the front page of newspapers. CNN flew a whole team out to do like a little documentary on me. And so you asked the question to change my life. I fed a homeless person and it changed the course of what the future of my life would be and has become.
And I mean, you say that you went viral. I mean, you met Oprah. You've had conversations with Oprah.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to meet incredible South Africans and sort of global people, sat in rooms with the most phenomenal human beings, and Oprah was definitely up there. It was when I got the email. So when I was younger, Oprah used to be on SABC3 every afternoon. So I'd get home from school. I didn't have Mnet. There was a thing called Open Time that I did have, but they used to allow you to watch Mnet from, I think, 5 to 7. It was like the free. So I didn't have Mnet. I used to watch sort of national television, and SABC3 had Oprah on every afternoon. So I would sit and watch Oprah. And then when I went viral at first, in 2014, one of the big, I mean, I was on all these publications, but one of the biggest was when the O magazine contacted me. And I was like, Oprah, what? This is insane. And then fast forward a couple of years, many years later, which was, I think, 3 years ago, I got an email inviting myself and 3 other journalists to have lunch with Oprah. They pitched it as lunch. We didn't get lunch. We sat speaking to her over lunch, so lunch time. And when I got that email, I cried. I was like, it was such a big moment for me to be selected out of so many incredible journalists in the country. And yeah, when I sat across from her, we were sitting as close as what we are now. And when we first sat down, the PR lady said, you've got 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And Oprah still said, 15 minutes? What are we going to talk about in 15? Like, how? And I think we ended the conversation when they pulled her away about 45 minutes later. So it was just absolutely unreal. And she was so open and interested. She was so interested. And I learned a lot from that. Yeah, so yeah, life changed. Got to have lunch with Oprah.
That's incredible, Brent. And I think, you could have stopped there. You could have gone viral, done something awesome, got all the praise, but then you became the good things guy.
Yeah.
And you, from my perspective, you have the coolest job in the world.
From my perspective as well. So I like to say that I really, really have the greatest job. My inbox, the team and myself, because we're a team now, our inboxes overflow every single day. Email, social media. When we open up our messages, it's just people wanting to share good news. We've become the middle ground in South Africa for you to share that news with, so that we can research it, interview, and tell those stories to a broader audience. That's cool. Like, yes, I sometimes get cuck emails. I wake up and I'm like, oh, don't want to deal with that. But the majority of what I get to do is, I'm just so thankful for it. I'm grateful every day.
What do you love most about what you do now?
I think just that, getting to tell other people's stories. So my story started and ended in 2014. It was my 15 minutes of fame. I got to be on all these great, news, both locally and abroad. And I got introduced to TV and radio for the first time, where I was behind or in front of the camera and in front of microphones, and it was the first time that I'd ever been in that space. And then it shifted to a space where I got to tell other people's stories. And I absolutely love it. It's the best.
Why do you think South Africans need good news?
I mean, this is such a simple question to answer, because there's so much bad news out there. There's so much hard news, so many challenges that we face on a daily basis. And Good Things Guy doesn't exist to erase that. I've never been one to say like an ostrich, put your head in the sand. We have to know what's going on around us. News is so important. And what journalism does, what our different news sites do, is so important. I know a lot of people. I went to a conference 2 years ago in Germany, where I spoke on a couple of panel discussions about media and news. And it's a global challenge where people are choosing to switch off because the news is so hard. So my thing is, don't. You need to know what's going on around you. You have to, I don't know if it's the Sunday Times that you're going to open up, or if it's Carte Blanche, or if you log into a news site in the morning just to catch up with the world and what's happening around us. That's important. But good news is equally important. We have to have a balanced view of our world. And we have to know that even though it's hard and there's challenges, there's also good things happening as well. Two things can be true at the same time. And there are so many good things happening all around us. Nelson Mandela said that his hope was for us to make our choices with hope and not fear. If you're constantly in a bad news space, you're fearful. But with a bit of balance, with a bit of good news, you can start to make choices in your life that are a lot more hopeful.
And I think a lot of people why they veer away from positivity is because of that false positivity. They feel like they have to be positive. Meanwhile, things aren't good, and that can be tough. And I think sometimes with positivity, you still have to have a little bit of a wallow, a little bit of a cry once in a while, and feel what you're going through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So toxic positivity, I think that's what it's called. I've come to realize in the last decade that because I'm surrounding myself with so much positivity, good news, good things, it's changed my perspective on life. And it's made me a much happier person. I'm the happiest guy. I'm the minister of happiness. I know Gaten McKenzie calls himself that, but I'm honestly one of the happiest people because of my job, because of what I've created, and because I fill my mind and my days with just good things. So there's some people might look at what I do and what the team does and go, rose tinted glasses, but it does good for your mental health.
Sounds like gratitude has something to do with that as well.
Gratitude is one of the pillars to happiness, I believe. There's an incredible guy called Arthur C. Brooks. Fascinating story. His whole life played some instruments. He was part of an orchestra. He traveled the world. He was living his dream, his purpose. And at some point, he realized that he really wasn't happy. He was successful, but he wasn't happy. So he went back to university in America, I think it was Harvard, and he started studying towards a different business degree so that he could do something different that wasn't music. And along the way, he got a bit philosophical and started moving into philosophy. And he started really thinking about what happiness is, how do we curate it for ourselves, even on bad days. And he came up with a couple of pillars, which when I say them, it's logical: family, friends, faith, your work, your purpose, all of those great things. But one of the founding things underneath that is gratitude. Gratitude almost, in my mind, equals happiness. When we can start to think about things that we can be grateful for, it does change our perspective. I speak about it often, and I don't know where it comes from, but it's that I get to notion. Instead of saying, like, I have to do this, I had to come and do this podcast today. No, I get to. I get to do that. How incredible is my life that you want to interview me? How lucky am I? When we start to see things with a bit of gratitude, everything changes.
So you mentioned perspective there, and I think that's what sometimes needs to change, because it's like when you're in a traffic jam and someone cuts you off or something, like you know, especially as South Africans, we love to swear and have a little bit of a road rage once in a while. But we sometimes don't consider maybe that person is rushing to hospital. Yeah. Maybe they're having a baby. Or, you know, we're quick to judge other people without really knowing what they're going through at times.
Yeah, and I guess that's human nature. Trying to have empathy or put yourself in another person's shoes, it's very difficult. But perspective, I think it is important, and for us to think about others. Kindness goes back to kindness. You speak about traffic. You got to remember that you're not in traffic. You're part of the traffic. You are traffic. And I don't want that to be a silly podcast meme. I saw the other day you must job your love or whatever that is. It's not like that. You are part of the traffic. And so that person is angry, you're angry. If everybody's just a little bit kinder and realize we're all in the same thing together, then maybe we can help each other get through those things together.
If you're enjoying this conversation and you want more perspective, stories, and life lessons, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. It's so easy to criticize someone else, and often you have no idea what's going on in the background. They might snap at you and you have absolutely no idea why.
Listen, 2 weeks ago I wrote about this on my social media. Our work, our articles that we write up to 25 a day, sometimes gets plagiarized. So people will take it and they'll publish it on their own sites, and it's just a little email that needs to be sent to just go, hey, can't do that, our IP. And a couple of weeks ago I emailed a UK based website, And the response I got, I've never in my life. He basically told me to F off. He was like, who do you think you are? Are you dumb? I'm not stealing your articles. I'm actually giving you exposure. It was the weirdest sort of conversation. And so I left it. Sometimes we need to sleep on things before we respond. And so I left it for a couple of days. And then he actually responded and said that some people, when I spoke about this, said he could be lying, possibly, who knows? But he said that his brother had passed away, and on the same day. And so he got this email attacking him, which it wasn't an attack. It was really just, hey, you're stealing our work. And he responded in a very harsh tone. And he apologized for that. And then he said, how do we rectify the situation? And that's putting perspective and yourself in someone else's shoes. Every single person is hanging on by a thin thread. We know this. Mental health is a serious thing that we need to focus on. And most people are dealing with really big monsters in their minds. I call it the Fight Club. Remember the Fight Club movie?
Yes.
First rule of Fight Club.
But we don't speak about it, Brent.
We don't speak about it. And that's with mental health. People don't speak about what they're going through. And so in my line of work, as much as I say, great, the emails and the good news, and we have an equal amount of very sad emails that we get from people who want to use Good Things Guy as a platform to get help or raise money or, just reaching out. And so, people are hanging on by a thin thread. And if we can remember that, if we don't react immediately, if we sleep on it, then sometimes the story can turn completely.
And especially as men, we are often so bad at expressing our emotions. I find that there's times where I'm depressed, sad, going through a really tough time, and sometimes feel a little alone in that. And some of my friends will confide in me and chat to me when they're going through a tough time, but they find it really, really difficult. But it almost gives me a little bit a sense of ease when they tell me about their problems, because then I don't feel like I'm the only one who doesn't have this life figured out and doesn't know their next step. But if everyone remains quiet, you just feel so isolated.
What is that quote? As we let our own light shine, we give others the space to do the same. It's the truth. When we're vulnerable, when we reach out, it allows us to see what you just said. We're not alone. And mental health is taboo. People don't speak about it enough. I started going to a therapist about 6 months ago, and it's been absolutely life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing. Once a week, I sit with my therapist and we talk about stuff. Even on good weeks, I'll go and just unpack stuff with him. And it's been such an eye-opener for me. And I've almost, not that I am an advocate, but I've become, in my own mind, an advocate for speaking about the fact that I have a therapist. I think that some people might think, I'm not going to tell people there's something wrong. No, it's done wonders for my mind. It's done wonders for my anxiety. I used to walk around in my own mind and tell people that I'm like a high functioning anxious person. That's what I believed in my mind. It's not true. That's not true. I was creating the anxiety for myself. And speaking to someone, having those conversations has made me realize I don't have a problem. There's nothing wrong with me. I was creating this idea, and today I sit in front of you. I'm not anxious at all. There's also other things. I work too much. I'm a little bit obsessed with what I do, so that's another thing that I'm trying to work on is that work-life balance. It took me a long time, but it has been life-changing.
It's about the stories we tell ourselves as well, though. At the end of the day. Like, if you tell yourself that I'm an imposter, I shouldn't be here, then your thoughts ruminate on that and they just get worse.
Yeah, I like to say that we need to teach that voice in our head to be kinder to ourselves. Because that voice in all of our heads can be really mean and can say really nasty things. And you do ruminate on it. It starts to become these things that you just think about and you like, and most of the time the monsters that we create in our heads are very, very small actually in real life. And sometimes the monsters don't exist at all. Sometimes we create these things and they're not actually real. But I'm still learning and I'm still working through that stuff.
You and I could have the exact same experience, but I would view it completely differently to the way that you viewed it. And it just shows that the same thing happened, but our minds played a completely different story.
Yeah, I think that, and that's not just a way of thinking, like that's scientific, right? So if you had to, I don't know, put 5 or 10 people in a room and have an experience and you ask them all, it would all be different because we see things in different ways. But yeah, it's the stories we tell ourselves. And maybe a good thing here is that you can change that story.
Never too late to change that story.
Never too late. Never too late.
And I mean, I don't want to make this a doom and gloom.
Well, we can't. It's supposed to be about the good things.
Exactly.
Let's bring it back.
But we have to also be a bit realistic at the moment. And life is hard at the moment. There are wars going on. The world is a difficult place and we fed a lot of negative news. How can we find just a little bit more positivity in our lives?
So here's the crazy thing. Like social media algorithms, which have become so advanced now, if you slow your scroll on a topic, it'll start to show you more of that topic. So I don't know if you've noticed, like on TikTok or Twitter, or then all of a sudden your whole feed becomes about one kind of thing because you've engaged or slowed down with whatever that topic is. The same thing happens in our minds. So we start to then focus on certain things that become bigger in our spaces, whether that's politics, whether that's a war, whether that's, I don't know, corruption, whatever it is. It starts to become this big thing in your mind. And it is a big thing because it's really happening. But if you shift your focus and you start to look for good things, then you start to see more of them. If I had to show you my TikTok feed, you'd be, I mean, you're smiling now. You'd be smiling from ear to ear. It's animals. It's lots of dogs. It's very funny videos. So I get like the compilations of funny things happening. It's happy stories because I engage with that content on my TikTok. So that's what I get fed. Same thing with your mind. And again, we're gonna go back. Luckiest guy in the world, best job in the world, because I surround myself with good things, which means I see more good things all the time.
That's such an incredible perspective shift, and I think it's similar to when something goes badly or it doesn't go the way that we want it to. How can we then turn that into something positive? So the Wi-Fi doesn't work. It's like, okay, well, now I can't scroll on Instagram, I can't go watch YouTube videos, I can't do WhatsApp calls, whatever. Like, my day is ruined. Can't reply to emails. But then you can so easily change that to, wow, what an awesome opportunity for me to be present.
Yeah, exactly. I have to add here because I sometimes come across as like a really, and I am a happy guy. I also have bad days. Maybe there's a chemical imbalance in my brain that I have more happy days than most, but I also have really, really bad days. And I like to think about our bodies like filling a cup, right? If we're feeling low, if the Wi-Fi's down and it gets to us, if we get a cuck email and we're like, it's the end of the world, we need to turn that around. And the way we do that is by filling our own cups. So I step away often. If I'm having a sort of bad day, I'll step away from work. I will focus my energy on things that do fill my cup. And playing PlayStation, love it. I've mentioned dogs before. I love my dogs, spending time with them, spending time with friends and family. Sometimes even day drinking is what we got to do to get through it. There's just certain things that you need to do to fill your cup again, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't give of yourself when you're feeling low. So, yeah.
That's a tricky balance, though, sometimes.
It is, and I'm still learning, working on that. My therapist has told me to carve out. So I work, I mentioned this, work far too much. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm in bed at like 9 or 10 at night. And my day is mostly filled with work from that time to that time. I'm doing something, whether it's the editorial, whether it's having to go to events, keynotes, radio, TV. I'm answering emails. I get so many emails. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I need to schedule self-care in my diary on a daily basis. Schedule it physically.
Yes.
Block out the diary to do something that fills my cup, that sort of makes me feel like a better human, puts me in a better space. And it's very tricky as well, because my idea of what self-care was or is has also had to change. Gym is not self-care for me. It's not self-care. I go to gym, yes, because it's great for my body and great for my mind, but I do it because I feel like I have to. In order to keep healthy and fit, I have to go to gym. That's not for me self-care. Even, I say, spending time with my dogs, yes, fantastic. Cuddling them, playing with them, that's self-care for me. Walking them is not self-care. I have to walk them. They need exercise. So that's like I've had to shift my mind a little bit as to what is self-care, and then putting time every day towards, even if it's just half an hour, to doing that.
And that's really interesting, because I think, like some people will see self-care as like a bath with bubble bath and, candles and everything. Some people might hate to bath.
Yeah.
They might hate a shower, like it's just them getting clean. So
Yeah.
it's different for different people. Self-care doesn't have to be doing something to better yourself. It doesn't have to be doing an ice bath or meditating.
Could literally be like PlayStation. And that for me, I don't play often. But when I get to, and I can put an hour aside to go, I don't know, Tomb Raider or Assassin's Creed, like that for me is complete downtime. It's switch off. I mean, Assassin's Creed is quite violent. So maybe that's whatever. It's self-care for me. And everybody needs to figure that out for themselves.
Brent, last question for today.
How? But how did the time go so quickly?
I know. I'm glad you said that. That's a good thing.
I've really enjoyed
Good things,
this.
Guy.
I've really enjoyed this.
I'm glad. I have too. And I've wanted to do this interview for ages. I've wanted to chat to you for so long, because I think the world just needs a burst of positivity, and I don't think this could come at a better time. When I look around for the first time, like I like to surround myself with positive people, and I see a lot of people struggling at the moment.
So like I said earlier on, every single human being is hanging on by a thin thread. We all are. We're all going through the most. And the news never stops newsing. There's continuous things happening, both locally and abroad. It does feel like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders at all times. It's uncertainty. It's fearful. So yeah, it is heavy. And so at Good Things Guy, we have a great way of seeing the sentiment of the country. So when things are lekker, when the sun is shining, when the Bokke are winning, when things are lekker, our readership is at its best. When the headlines are heavy, when we get to October, November, when we're all tired because of a long year, our readership goes down completely. We physically see it. And that ebbs and flows all the time, right? It depends on where we are. We also see it in the comments of our stories. So when we post a story, when people are feeling, when the sentiment of the country is in a good space, the comments are, what a great story. That's when we're in a bad space. You're lying. How can a security guard find 17,000 rand that a pensioner left and give it back to them, whatever that is? We see it often. And you're 100% correct. Whatever's happening both locally and abroad right now, it's impacting South Africa on a massive scale. Because we see the angry comments, we see the readership sort of declining. Not badly, it's nothing for me to worry about from a good things guy point of view. But it is worrisome from a country's point of view. We're angry. We're angry. And a little bit moch, maybe. What do they say? Gatvol.
Yes.
Gatvol. And we must understand then that there's a lot of people feeling the same way. And so, as you started today's discussion, kindness and being kinder is necessary and needed. With everything you face. We've told stories, I said it earlier on, where kindness can save a life, where kindness has saved a life. Saved a life. Stopped someone from committing suicide. From someone, a stranger, just being kinder. So yeah, the world might feel angry and hard and heavy, but we don't have to be. We don't have to be. And when we are kinder, that will filter into people around us, everything around us. It might just all get a little bit better.
Let's take a short break and head to the coffee corner. Brent, what's your go-to coffee order and who would you like to have it with?
So my go-to coffee, and this is not a sponsored post, when I'm at home would be Nespresso, right? When I'm out, 100% Seattle coffee. That's my guy. I love Seattle. And if there's one person that I wish I could have coffee with, it would be my dad. And I know that sounds silly, but he's been gone for 15 years now, and I miss him terribly. It just one more cup of coffee would be great.
So I was going to have one more question, but now you just sparked my brain, so I've got two more questions for you.
Hit me!
So, as South Africans, you say when things are tough, it's like we feel it all together. And then when things are good, we thrive on that. When the Bokke are winning, we're all behind it. What do you think South Africans do best?
What do we do best? South Africans are friendly, incredibly friendly. If we tell stories about people coming globally coming to visit South Africa, yes, it's beautiful and they get to see cool things and they go on safari. It's the people. It always comes down to the people of South Africa. We are kind. So even if we are angry, we are we were voted, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we were voted the friendliest nation in the world. South Africans. Last year, we were voted as the most generous nation in the world. South Africans have got some good stuff going for us. I think we just get bogged down with what's happening around us, and then we forget who we truly are. But here's a podcast to remind you.
Thanks, Brent.
What was the second question?
If you could solve one problem in the world right now, what would it be?
Yes, see.
Maybe you can solve that problem.
How? The Minister of Happiness.
You're the good things guy.
I'm the good things guy. So I think poverty. I don't believe that anybody, nobody should be poor. Everybody should have meals to eat. Everybody should have homes. I think poverty is such a sad reality in the world. And I've been lucky enough to travel to many countries where I've seen in Bangladesh there were people that were begging, that were not many, so it wasn't everywhere. So I'm going to take that back. There was a person I saw begging that was completely naked, and they weren't doing it for shock factor. They were doing it because they just had no clothes. 90% of South Africans live below the dignity line. 90%. That stat was put together, I think, in 2019 by a group of researchers, and it hasn't got better, hasn't got worse. It's sat at 90% since 2019, as far as I can tell when I've tried to do the research into it. That has to change. That has to change.
I think you are part of that change, and I absolutely love what you do, Brent. I think you are a legend. I've followed your story. I really love what you put out there, and I genuinely think you make the world a better place.
That's incredibly kind. That's incredibly. I'm very grateful for what I get to do. Good Things Guy has grown into so much more than just a good news platform. We know this. We've got the helpers, which is part of what we do now. A platform dedicated to giving charities a space to promote themselves. And I would love it to just continue growing. And it will. I know it will. The team that is behind Good Things Guys, because it's not just me anymore. They're passionate. They are so good at what they do. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. For people that want a bit of good news in their life, how do they get that good news?
So first, and my team are going to be very angry when I say this. First of all, you don't need to come to Good Things Guy. Yes, you can. There's a lot of good news there. If you search for Good Things Guy, we are everywhere. You can find that good news. But I think more than anything, I want all of your listeners and viewers to realize that there is good news all around them. And it's in their WhatsApp groups. It's on their social media spaces. They just need to look for it. And if you can't find that good news, then perhaps you need to become it. Maybe you need to become your own Good Things Guy, Good Things Girl. Do some good stuff, because that will, that'll become the good news for everybody else.
I love that. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Amazing.